I am pleased to introduce Richard Armstrong, Head of Solutions Engineering at Cloudflare recently, so congratulations on the new role. And I'm really excited for this session because this is going to be our most interactive session, which we're titling Conducting Performance Reviews During a Pandemic, where Richard's going to present for 20 minutes, and then we're going to be doing breakout sessions with the community for 40 minutes. So, Richard, again, thanks for being here. We're really appreciative to have you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, James. I appreciate it, and you guys are doing a great job. It's really great to see, I'm sure you talked about it earlier, the passing of the baton from the Global Executive Pre-Sales Council to the collective, and I'm really happy to see that and how smooth it's going. So let's get started. This is really going to be an intro to the breakout session, right? So what I'm going to do is share a few thoughts on doing performance reviews during a pandemic, and a little bit of guidance, and then we're going to let you break into groups of 5. And during that time, you can have discussions, and we would ask that you have somebody volunteer to be the note taker. If you send that information back to the Pre-Sales Collective, we're going to format it, correlate it, and then share it with everyone later. So, please take that into account as you're getting together in your offsites, in your groups.
Richard, I think you're muted. I think we might have clicked the mute button.
Okay, there you go.
There we go.
Sorry about that. So, yes, I was talking about the wonderful year we're having at 2020 with COVID-19 and all of the things that have happened, strange things across the board, right? From how we work to how we live at home. I think I attended my first virtual wedding where someone was getting married out in the country at someone's property and wanted friends and family to participate beyond the group of 10, and so I got to see them, participate virtually through Zoom and weddings. So that was quite interesting. But really, what it's done from a business standpoint is it's accelerated the digital transformation, and a lot of companies. The companies that have the right solutions that have helped their customers do that have gained from it, right? Anybody that can get people up to speed quickly on remote access and any of those things, or video sharing, has been great, right? A lot of other scenarios has not been so good, and from a standpoint of managing teams that are not used to being remote, that makes a whole set of other challenges as well. So the question I asked myself first is, from my standpoint, I've been managing remote teams for quite a long time, and I thought, okay, there's really not any difference between managing a remote team and doing performance reviews, regardless of whether the pandemic is there or not. So the question is it different, right? I'd say it's mostly the same, with a few exceptions, right? And I think the exceptions, of course, are, one, if you have a remote team already and you're managing them remotely, there's some emotional challenges of being in the lockdown, right, that are just different now. And if you have been managing an in-office team, perhaps inside SEs, it's completely different, right? So obviously some challenges there. So the key question to ask really is, can your SE continue to do the same job that she was doing before, or does the pandemic prevent it? This can be quite varied, right? A lot of SEs are used to going, if they're field SEs, getting in front of customers, knocking on doors, taking them to lunch, meeting face-to-face, right? And they're not going to be able to do that anymore. They're not going to be able to talk with their sales counterparts face-to-face. So it does change things even for remote employees. Right, so the question is, do they have the same support as they had before, or does their job actually require new roles or tasks they have to do because of that? And the other thing is, have you found alternative ways of doing this informal communication, dialogue, and team building? Because all of that has to do with managing and performance and coaching and things that you're going to talk about as part of this session. Now, overall, I did a little bit of research and found that, in general, companies have been surprised how effective we can be doing remote work, assuming our type of job allows us to do it. We've been fortunate, I think, in the high-tech industry where we can do that. 63% of the workforce feel like they're being more productive because they don't have to travel into work or they don't have to get on an airplane, right? 37% of companies feel that overall productivity increased. And this is a big concern for a lot of companies going into COVID and taking a workforce that typically hasn't been remote and moving them to a remote workforce. That's even the scenario with Cloudflare, which is a very office-oriented company, particularly in San Francisco, but they're very happy to find out that productivity certainly did not go down, in some cases actually increased. Also, 72% of the executives think that everyone is working harder. That's probably true, and I think generally that's good, but sometimes it creates challenges as well. So then the next question is, what are the struggles? I'll talk about a little bit about the struggles of the worker and a little bit from the management side, right? Again, I was looking for information out there, statistics that either verify or contradict what my personal feelings already were. And in general, I think this is pretty close to what I've experienced. Some of the struggles that people have, especially if they're used to being face-to-face some of the time, is collaboration or communication. Obviously, we get WebEx fatigue or don't have that back channel communication maybe as fluidly as we've had before. Some of them have loneliness, especially if you're used to being in an office. It's kind of interesting. After I've been home office now for better part of 15 years, and while there's some benefits to it, at the same time, sometimes I really want to get out there and collaborate and talk informally with my coworkers. So when that travel part of it goes away, then that part of it goes away as well. Unplugging after work. This is a tough one for any SE at any time, right? So if your day is basically in front of the computer all day, and you don't have to do anything, there's nothing really to do because you can't go anywhere, when do you unplug? So you end up working a lot more. And this is common for new employees that are remote employees and aren't used to it as well. And then other things like the distractions at home. We've all seen the spouse walking, coming out of the bathroom and walking behind somebody presenting, or the pets, or any other thing that's happening at home. Hopefully it doesn't happen within the next 20 minutes here, but it might, right? But people are being very understanding of that, but it does affect things. Teams of different time zones, vacation time is an interesting one, right? Because you're like, okay, I'm going to take some vacation, but I can't go to Europe like I was planning to, or whatever the case may be. It really does change people's minds about that. Sometimes they decide, well, it's not worth taking vacation, and then they can get burned out from that, right? And then from the manager's side, also some interesting things that I think corroborate pretty well. Team cohesiveness. This is particularly true if you have sales and SEs in the same physical office, or even going to customers at the same time. All of the back channel stuff, you absolutely do lose that, right? Reduced employee focus is a concern that came up in this particular survey. That could be true. I'm not sure I agree with that one, but it is an interesting question. And some of them do worry about reduced productivity, right? If somebody's working at home, are they really working? Are they working on their side projects? And there's ways to manage that type of performance if you're used to doing that with as a remote manager. If you're not, then there's a new set of skills for you to learn. Employees overworking. I've seen this real time at Fortinet, at VMware, and at Cloudflare. it is a challenge that they're getting overworked in some cases. And then finally, maintaining company culture. So how do you do that when everybody's remote office and home office, even at the headquarters? That's actually a big concern, the leadership at Cloudflare as well. So what I wanted to do is just a couple of tips from my perspective, and then we're going to quickly let you go and do your breakouts. But I think it's critical, very critical, from the standpoint of managing performance, that you're upfront and clear, and you schedule regular check-ins with your people. Now, whether you're a manager of managers or whether you're a first-line manager, I don't think that changes. You should have goals that are results-oriented, not activity-oriented. For example, I've seen some NBOs that say, do 8 customer meetings a day. I guarantee you'll get 8 customer meetings a day, but they may not be very high-quality meetings, right? They may be 10, but what does that mean? I'd rather have results-oriented type goals to look at and have discussions with my people. Formal review is just the recap, right? If you're doing an annual performance review, there shouldn't be any surprises there. Your people should have had plenty of dialogue with their individual contributors on an ongoing basis, and you should have with the people on your team that directly report to you. So, and then during the final, what I like during the final, the annual review, is that you really celebrate the achievements, right? And look at the company values, not just as were they part of the biggest deal. Are they invoking those company values and really living it? Have they done something above and beyond? You're going to bring that up. And then you focus on development discussion, right? And coaching and feedback at a high level around their career, because it's just an annual thing. Obviously, if they're not meeting those performance objectives that you have for them, that should be discussed first. And again, there shouldn't be any surprises when you do that. So as we get into the breakout, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the format of this. So if you get a designated note taker, you send your raw notes to info@PreSales Collective, and we'll aggregate them, right? And then we'll go share them with the rest of the people. I think they'd be very happy. I would love to see what you come up with. We're going to have groups of 5, and you have 40 minutes to discuss this topic. And then, some starter questions. What has worked for your team? What hasn't? What have you tried? I'd really love to know if you've tried some out-of-the-box things that came out specifically because of COVID. And, have you changed your KPIs or targets just because of that? Brainstorm on ideas on how you can effectively do these evaluations and manage performance, and then come back with your ideas to us through the info at PreSales. Okay, so that's it for my intro. I wanted to give you guys as much time as possible to have your breakout. So please go through and get to your breakout sessions and then come back.